What's going on, folks? Welcome to Got Your Back live stream edition. I just threw Struds under the bus big time. Big time. So I'm in control of the live stream here. It's my job to make sure that the proper shots go up. Don't know if you caught it when I started the live stream. Instead of our slate with all the logos and everything, it was Struds biting his nails. So I'm not sure what he's so nervous about, but we're going to check in with him in a minute and we're going to find out. Man, oh man, I just realized the power I have in my hands to put people live on the internet without them knowing. So, yikes. Could have been worse. He's often known to quickly do a quick wardrobe change right before our hits, so that could have been ugly. Got Your Back brought to you by Mr. Dirk. Gonna have fun today. We're gonna talk about the Oilers last night, their win against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Gonna talk about Matthias Ekholm. How'd you like your new shiny defenseman, Oiler fan? And, of course, we're going to talk some trades in our takeaway segment as well. Got Your Back brought to you by Mr. Dirk, located just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. Mr. Dirk, your one-stop shop for all your clothing needs, all of them. If you're a businessman, want to sharpen up your look around the office, they got a great selection of suits and shirts, ties, shoes, everything you want to make that statement that you are on your game. Also have fantastic casual wear as well. Go see Sterling. Go see Dan. Awesome crew. Beautiful showroom. Mr. Dirk. Great place for quality clothing of all types. Okay, Struds, I'm bringing you back in again. That could have been bad, buddy. I hit the live button and I looked over and it was you sitting there like this, biting your nails.
Dodged a bullet.
Oh, man, I know. I've been live a few times where I didn't realize it and you're kind of like, whoa, you realize after the fact. Man, oh, man, oh, man. You were at the game last night. How was the outing?
It was good. So yeah, my son and I went. He's a Maple Leafs fan, and I don't know if he just does that to juice
wow.
me. But I mean, not his Oilers are his favorite team, but he likes. I mean, I do like Matthews and Marner. You got to give those guys a ton of respect. But he'd never been into a game like that where it was that loud. Like he's been to a Flames Edmonton game, but it's not the same as anywhere I played when the Leafs were in town. It was just obnoxiously annoying how loud those fans are, and they had nothing to cheer about last night. Like it was, there was people, Leafs fans around us leaving 8 minutes to go in the third period. 8 minutes, you basically miss half a period. So it was great. It was great to be there and kind of see it all live, right? And Ekholms' first game.
Whereabouts were your seats?
We were in the Oilers and twice, just up above, top of the lower bowl.
Yeah. I notice I like to try and watch at least 1 or 2 games a year, kind of down in and around the crowd a little bit, get down a little bit lower because, you spend all year up in the press box and the game starts to look pretty easy. And you also start to lose a little bit of perspective on just what you're watching with McDavid and company and just how fast. I mean, we see it at practice, but to watch game speed. And I love watching games a little bit closer to the ice surface because it just really gives you that sense for the speed they're moving. I mean, you've been out there for many, many years, so But I imagine getting a little closer and watching McDavid at full speed is something.
Well,
last night too.
So let's talk about the number of what I'd call stars and superstars that were in that game, right?
Yeah.
You have Leon, Connor, Matthews, Marner, and we'll put Nylander in that group. I think we could agree that, Morgan Riley is a really good defenseman. I think that John Tavares has been a superstar and maybe, still very, very good player, Ryan O'Reilly. But last night, Connor McDavid was by far the best player on the ice. It literally looks how I feel when I play against my 10-year-olds. That's what he was doing. Like
you must feel like a superstar.
Just ridiculous. He's like, hold on, guys. I'm just going to go get us 3 goals. I'll be back in a few minutes. Is that okay if I do it in the first period?
Yeah.
Like it is. And I know you try to say we got to respect what he's doing, understand it. It just every time I see it and live or on TV, I always think this is a guy who is literally tearing the league in half. 5 games in a row with 2 goals. 5 games, 10 goals in a year for most guys is an amazing year.
It's ridiculous.
5 games. I don't know what to tell you. I know. I never thought I'd see a player I'd compare to Wayne Gretzky, and I think I'm at that point where I would say that the way he dominates games,
just separation from him and everyone else. That's the thing, right? That's how you compare the generations. That's how you can accurately compare the generations. How much separation is there between him and everyone else?
Good. That's the best way you can say it because he is so much, and Leon is amazing, and Matthews amazing, Marner, but it was even those guys are probably like,
what the heck?
I can't compete. I can't.
Orange
compete
Crush 29 here on the stream says McDavid 16 points in the last 5 games. Is that true? He's playing house league, he says. Listen,
ridiculous.
Want to remind you we are streaming today. We are on Twitter, and I think I got us up on YouTube. So Twitter and YouTube at the same time. So check mark for me. I'm figuring this stuff out. So we're going to talk about the game here, and then we're going to talk some trade stuff after. Early word, by the way, I think Yamamoto's okay. That's the early word at this point, but we'll wait for confirmation on that here. But let's get to the breakdown, brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. They supply really, really nice maintenance-free vinyl fencing and decking. If you've had one of those wood fences or wood decks for years and years, and you're dreading the idea that you're going to have to move all the furniture and sand it down and stain it and all that kind of maintenance stuff that is just annoying, really give some thought to going maintenance-free vinyl with DLR. I've got some in my backyard, and it's awesome. It goes in, it's maintenance-free. You don't have to touch it. You don't have to stain it. No sanding, no painting, no nothing. Get the pressure washer once a year and clean it off. Really high-quality products. I love the company because it's a family company. I make no bones about it. These are my brothers, Rick and Rob. They've got locations in Calgary and in Edmonton. So if you're in the market for some fencing this upcoming spring, give them a shout and tell them that Got Your Back sent you. Okay, Struddy. So we were just talking a little bit about McDavid. Let's just finish off those thoughts there. What we're watching, what we're witnessing, the pace that he's putting up goals right now. To me, it's beyond just that, though. There's a leadership component in everything that he's doing. This is not about chasing a rocket. Connor McDavid, going back to that Columbus game and previous even, talking about it's an embarrassing start and an embarrassing finish. Then you go to the Boston game. They play good, but he's not afraid to stand there and point out some mistakes that people made. Yamamoto with some chances. Boston, winning is a skill, and they've got it mastered. Not afraid to be vocal about this. This is where he wants his team to get. So he's willing to stand there and say these things, but then he backs it up on the ice. Like, this is playoff McDavid that we saw last year. I see an application of that level to a regular season push here. It seems to me like he's accessing that playoff insanity right now at a really important time of the regular season.
I feel like he would do whatever it takes to help his team win. And right now, I think that's the offense, right? He's definitely scoring. But if he decided that he had to be the best defensive player on the planet, he would do that if he thought his team would win. Like, you can tell he just wants to win. That's all it is. And he's doing an unreal job. And other guys take notice. Like, I'm telling you, when your captain's leading like that and playing that hard, there are no excuses for you not to bring your best game, to not bring your next level. And we're seeing guys jump on the parade, right? Other guys are starting and not that they've been playing badly, but we're seeing it. Like, last night was a big game. You just got beat by the Bruins, a team that many people think are Stanley Cup winners or should be Stanley Cup favorites. And then you come in and play against Toronto. Toronto's got all these new toys. The media's here. The fans are obnoxious. And you come out and you literally kick them so hard in the nuts that you could see Sheldon Keefe after was upset. He's like, and so part of it is, and I give Keefe credit because he did say, like, it wasn't just that we were bad. The other team was really good and the Oilers are ready to go. But, like Mitch Marner, you look at McDavid's power play goal, gets over the blue line offensive zone. You're shorthanded, tries to make a play. Why? There are more dangerous players on the ice than you, and you try to make a fancy play. That is what the Oilers do themselves. So that is a gifted goal that Marner created for the other team. And really, the Oilers never look back.
Yeah, for sure. To the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions, R.C.J. Wood says, Leon was the biggest standout to me, skating miles. So despite the fact that he's continued to contribute at a high level, we have been picking into Draisaitl's game a little bit because the standards are really high for this player. He's one of the top few players on the planet. And the things that we'd noticed, right? I love the point you made a few games ago about how you want to see him hang on to the puck because he's so dominant when he hangs on to it and he fends people off. And I found before that he was kind of trying to force plays. Leon Draisaitl doesn't have to force anything. He's strong enough to just hold it, wait for the perfect play to develop, and then boom, just tape to tape, and he always finds the perfect play. I thought last night, Struds, going back to the point you originally made, he did a way better job of just hanging on to that thing and making better decisions and then the details in his game, the back checking, the defensive awareness, that was much better for me on Draisaitl.
Yeah, and he has capacity to be a huge player for this team, and we've seen him be that. So that's why I think I hold him such a high level. Um, One thing as I was sitting there watching last night is that he is at his best when he's hanging on the puck, but he's moving his feet. I think when he gets into trouble is when he's stopping still or stationary, and he tries to make passes when he's stationary. Multiple times last night we saw him, a 50-50 puck battle. He gets there, wins the body position, and then he holds on the puck and fends off the defender while he's moving around. And now everyone's like, oh, geez, this amazing player has the puck.
Yeah.
We know he's a good passer. We don't know what he's going to do with it. His teammates are all buzzing to try to get open, and he sets up Devon Shore in front. Devon Shore wide open in front. Pretty good save. I don't know if that's really a scoreable shot because he was so close to the net.
Still,
but
yeah.
Either way, like, that's what I'm talking about. That's the Leon I want to see. That's the Leon I believe that they, so points are one thing, but it's, how are you getting those points? And I thought when he was on the ice, he was great. Like, when those two guys are buzzing, there are probably no teams in the league that can match this superpower of those two guys.
Okay, we've gone way too long without talking about their shiny new defenseman in Matthias Ekholms. So he gets the call, has to uproot himself. Now his family is coming with him to Edmonton, but it's a tough travel day. Arrives like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock start, not a lot of time. You know what this is like, Struds. You've done those exhibition runs where you fly and play on the same day. Not ideal. So after the game, he said he definitely needed to catch his breath a couple of times. But my goodness, did he ever play a fantastic game last night in his debut? I thought he was excellent, all things considered.
So I got there early. My son loves to watch warm-up. So we got there early. And we were pressed up right against the glass. I think one of the Oilers winked at me. I'm not sure. Like, that's how close I was. But I watched that come pretty much the whole time. And this guy is calm and cool, buddy. I love Swedish defensemen. Literally, I love them. I think they're amazing. Boris Salming, Nick Lidstrom, obviously this guy or Carlson, like Hedman, they are unbelievably professional and organized. And he's big. He's a big guy. I mean, I've always liked Ekholm, and now he's here on this team. And I was wondering, okay, how's he going to fit in? He was talking to other guys, talking about off plays, where we want to be, penalty kill going out with Desharnais, all that stuff. Just very, very calm. And he's disruptive. Like he's up many times at the blue line. He was physical on the wall. Like, I actually thought he got away with a couple penalties.
For sure.
And he made plays. I think he's an upgrade on Larson. I feel that way. Like, I said they needed to get a left-handed Adam Larson. I think they got a better version of Adam Larson on the left side.
Well, how about this, Struds? He is like if you were to take Oscar Klefbom and Adam Larson and just mash them together. He's a bit of a combination of both, because I think he's a better puck mover than Larson, and I think he's more physical than Klefbom. So I think he's a bit of a hybrid of the two of them, right? And one of the sneaky parts of his game, I was talking to a contact I have in Nashville, and he was saying, just be aware of the puck moving ability. It's he's noted for his defensive play. And then you see last night, he regroups in his own end and he turns around and there's an easy play off to his right. But then all of a sudden he goes like this and he sees something. Quick slap pass, full wind up slap pass, angles it off the boards, past the defender. Just enough angle off the boards that Draisaitl could pick it off on his stick. And it ends up being a 2-on-1. Mm-hmm. I know I don't know if it seemed like an obvious play. I thought it was a really heads up, smart play that was a perfect illustration of how he can think the game as a puck mover as well, not just a pure defender.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I like about him. Now let's talk about the effect he had on the D-core. Mm-hmm. Bouchard. Now, obviously, you're looking for it. I'm looking for Bouchard to be better, and I think we could see that he looked calmer, and I thought he was more assertive. Now, I think is it a new partner? Maybe. But maybe Ekholm just being his presence there makes him feel more comfortable. Mm-hmm. And then Darnell Nurse. It seemed like every time one of their top players was on the ice, the Leafs that is, boom, outwalk Nurse and Ekholm. And, Nurse, I think that's what they need him to do. They need to have one of those two guys on the ice all the time. And I think for Nurse, he can calm down now. He doesn't have to take on everybody. He doesn't have to be the guy that shuts down everyone. He can now share that assignment. So, I think that those two players specifically will be impacted by this. And even for Nurse, just watch how Ekholm does it. Like Ekholm, he's a solid defender, and I think that's what I'd like to see Darnell Nurse be. Very solid. When there's opportunity, you pass the puck up. When you can jump in. But you don't have to be everything every shift.
20 minutes and 50 seconds for Ekholm. 228 on the penalty kill. Now, Nurse still played 24:56. But, there's some reasons for that as well. Darnell Nurse got some power play time as well. Nurse had, just let me check to make sure I get this right. I'm having trouble lining this up. Nurse, I need glasses. 326 on the power play for Nurse. So at even strength last night, 19-14 for Darnell Nurse and 17-52 for Matthias Ekholms. So there's definitely, and I think that'll even itself out a little bit more moving forward. I liked Evan Bouchard's game last night. He wasn't perfect. He made some mistakes. There were some turnovers and some things here and there. That's going to happen. Throw that out. I think that there is a tremendous amount of pressure on Evan Bouchard right now because what trading Tyson Barrie signifies is the organization is saying, you got to do it. Like, we're counting on you. We believe in you, and you have to do it. Because if Evan Bouchard if the Oilers don't add another defenseman, and if Evan Bouchard wilts under this pressure and this opportunity, it'll be catastrophic for the Oilers. They need this guy to play second pairing minutes through a Stanley Cup run here. Like, that's what they're telling him. We believe you can do. And so there's pressure on him. And now to run that power play, there's pressure on him. So I was watching him really close last night, more than anything to see if he was leaning into this, if he was leaning into the challenge, or if he was backing away from it a little bit. There's a tentative energy that Bouchard can bring to his game sometimes when he's not feeling confident. And then there's a more aggressive energy that he can bring to his decision making. He didn't make a bunch of fantastic decisions last night. He wasn't perfect. I thought he leaned into the challenge last night, Struds. He was trying to make plays. He wasn't afraid to make plays. I thought he leaned into it in a way that to me signals he's going to grab this thing and do what he can.
It's a starting point, right? So he's starting somewhere, right? He recognizes, I think that from what we saw last night, he recognizes the opportunities in front of him because this could make him a whole lot of money, a ton of money. If he becomes a guy who's the QB on that power play, if he and Ekholm can become a solid pairing, this is a ton of cash. Like, we are talking big bucks. A top four guy running that power play, the points he's going to collect. So, not to put pressure on him, but I mean, this is big. And it doesn't mean he's getting the money this year, but I mean, or next year, but it's going to come.
Well, if he hits this hard, if he commands that power play time, if he can hang with 17, 19 minutes a night at even strength next to Ekholm, if he has a good playoff run where he's usable and he rises to the challenge like he did last year, all of a sudden the Oilers, who were thinking, bridge, nowhere near Dobson money, like, this was not trending great for him in terms of his negotiating power. If all those things fall into place for him, I mean, the Oilers might have to think about trying to figure out a way to make this longer. And I agree with you. Big money on the line for Bouchard.
Yeah. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but
it's relevant.
That is the opportunity. It's relevant. The opportunity is in front of him. So I honestly think having Ekholm is going to make a big difference, man. I tweeted about it. I think it makes a huge difference for him. It is a calm player. And the thing is, Ekholm is going to see and identify trouble that's coming before Bouchard even knows he's even getting close to trouble, right? So he's going to help him out as well. So this is a partnership I think they have to foster. They have to continue to put them out there together.
Okay, going to get to the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions here. And a reminder that... you got one, kid? Just let me read the promo read here. Sure. 45 years in the business. So should you need a new furnace, garage heater, air conditioner, hot water tank, or any of these things serviced, Weiss Johnson is the place to go. They're Edmonton's #1 choice for heating, air conditioning, and plumbing services. Give them a call, 780-463-3096. Give Dennis a call. Bug him for some business. Weiss Johnson, whoa. Go for it, Struds.
This is from our Brad's 5. If I get on the pod and hear anything complain about missing Barry's PP drop passes, I'll be very displeased.
Oh, that's at me. That's directed right at me.
I know.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump over it. I'm just going to talk about it. So that was something I was specifically watching for yesterday.
Yeah. You didn't have to do it.
For the D-man who's carrying the puck up, to throw it behind you, it is against everything that you're taught. You're taught to move the puck forward. So it's very uncomfortable. And I know that Bouchard's been doing it. I watched him yesterday, and it is an art form. So what I saw from Bouchard is he tends to still go up the right side of the ice. He needs to try to get in the middle of the ice so he can throw it back and have more options. Now, it'll come with reps. It'll come with confidence. And at the very worst, you know that Connor McDavid's behind you, so you should be okay. But it's going to take reps, and it's going to take a while to get it done. So he's not as good as Barrie. There's no doubt. There is, and I'm not saying this to fire you up, our Brads, on this beautiful Thursday morning, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, and that's directed right at me, because one of the things I said, might have been on Gregor's show or a podcast or something like that, I pointed to the subtle ways in which Tyson Barrie was so efficient on that power play. And one of the things that I've noticed about Bouchard is he's so painfully deliberate with that drop pass. Everybody knows it's coming. Yeah. He has no way to even try and hide it. He screws it up a bunch. Like, it's a thing. I'm telling you, I've watched it many, many times. And so that was one of the little subtleties I pointed out that Barrie, just with his savvy, has perfected. Walking the blue line in the offensive zone, they're different players and they have different skill sets. And Bouchard is going to have to figure a few things out and get comfortable on that power play. So I pointed out that the drop passes from Bouchard weren't as tight as Barrie's. And a few people on Twitter went nuts at me. They're just like, drop pass? Like, that means nothing. What are you talking about? I would disagree. It's the first critical decision that needs to get made on every power play. And when teams decide to take it away from you as a defenseman, you got to have the savvy to understand what they're doing and make a better play instead. And Bouchard's a little bit too deliberate with that at times. So that's me defending myself. But I get why people think I'm dealing too much in the minutia. I'll take that one on the chin. All good. More Twitter mentions here. Someone suggesting they should have signed Bouchard before the trade. Dan Fika says they should have signed him before the trade. Think ahead. I disagree. They wouldn't have been able to come to terms on a deal at that point. Way too much up in the air. You need to see what his body of work is here through the rest of the year. Dan also says Larson isn't even near Ekholms' ability. I mean, Adam Larson was a pretty good defenseman, not the same puck mover. Do you think Larson was more nasty, or do you think Ekholm has that level in him?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen it from Ekholm, but he's very hard. Like, he's a very hard defender, right? And he breaks things up, and he's bigger. I think he's bigger than Adam Larson, longer. And that's another point I want to make here. The D-core looks a lot bigger with Barrie out and Ekholm.
Desharnais in. Well, they're monsters.
It's a lot bigger. And I'll get to this tweet here from the Reaper XXX. The PK with Vinny and the Viking looks glorious. Yeah, they take up a lot of space, right? And Vinny led the team in penalty kill minutes last night. And as soon as there's a penalty, boom, up pop those two guys. So they're long, they take a lot of space, and that's what you want to see. Yeah.
Okay. D-Wari says, do you think the interference call on McDavid was a good one? You want to take this one, Struds? You dive in.
Not even a question. It happened right in front of me. I said, goal's getting called off. You can't plow into someone to clear a path. Like, as a defenseman, as a member of the D-man union, I just can't let that happen. And it's unfortunate because for Bouchard, he needs that. That would have, you know what, if Bouchard needs that goal, if he would have scored in his first game like that, to have that goal, but I think it's just good that he was in the play.
He still scored it. It was a confident shot. He buried that thing. Good for him. Good for him.
It's crazy. I don't think Connor even had to knock him out. That's what I think that is kind of crazy. But yeah, Connor, I mean, another storyline I was not talking about, Connor very undisciplined. Too many penalties last night.
Tweet it. Tweet it, Struds. It's one thing to just say it on a little pod stream here. Tweet it.
97, undisciplined hockey last night.
What's with 97 and all these penalties? Like, what's happening here?
Why don't you guys ask the hard questions, Spector and Schauger?
Is that what someone said?
No. That's what I'd say. Tweet at both of you guys. Ask the hard question about McDavid and all his selfish penalties.
Do you have a ghost account? I think you have a ghost account, and you chirp us on your ghost account. You're the kind of creep that I could see investing the time and energy into absolutely trying to make our lives hell.
My ghost account has a ghost account, buddy. That's how it is.
I'm going to weed you out, man. I'm going to ferret you out, and then I'm going to absolutely expose you for the fraud that you are on Twitter.
Hey, Jason Strudwick here reporting. Connor, I got a question for you. What's with the selfish penalties?
Hey, buddy, you got a press pass. Show up. Let's do it, man. Get in there.
Hi, you recognize me, Jason Strudwick? Really selfish, Connor. I know you had 3 points and had an unreal game, but the selfish penalties. Why
by the way, I do need to address the Puljujärvi fans out there, because my buddy sent me a couple of notes on Twitter. I try and avoid this stuff, but my buddies can't help it. They see me getting murdered and they love it, so they send it to me. Some were really pissed at me for a question that I asked McDavid after Puljujärvi got traded. And the question that I asked McDavid was along the lines of, like, there's been some ups and downs, but you feel like a change of scenery can be good. And you feel like there's an NHL player in there that just, kind of needs that opportunity. So people thought I was saying to Connor McDavid, like, do you think he's an NHL player? Like, do you like that's still up for debate, or I was suggesting that he's not. Honestly, what I was doing is I was trying to give Connor McDavid the opportunity to sing Jesse's praises a little bit and say that, yes, we've seen it. And yes, sometimes I had an idea of what I wanted to get McDavid to talk about, which was Puljujarvi and his potential and all the things that they've seen from him, and that maybe a change of scenery will help. So my intention is to give McDavid the platform to say what he wants about Puljujarvi's game. And the way you word a question sometimes catches people a little bit wrong. I wasn't trying to suggest that Puljujarvi is not an NHL player. I think that he is. But I think that at times that has been somewhat in question when you look at the long stretches and was the American Hockey League an option for this guy pretty recently? Yeah, the American Hockey League was an option for this guy pretty recently. So some fans got so pissed at me for suggesting that, but I'm just looking to give Connor the chance to kind of, say, hey, no, this is how we feel about Jesse. And I thought McDavid gave a really nice answer.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the chapter's closed, right? The team, he's gone now, and it was unhandled poorly by both sides, and he's gone. So to me, it's irrelevant. Like to me, I don't even. I wish him well, but I watched him and cover the Oilers. What he does or doesn't do, I think now is irrelevant for those because he's gone. He won't be ever coming back.
Yeah. Early word on Yamamoto. We're getting some questions. Early word, to my understanding, is that he's okay. That there isn't a concussion there. But again, we need to, that's my sense of things, and we need to confirm it. And we don't have an availability today with the Oilers, so really nothing till trade deadline tomorrow. But if I'm the Oilers, I probably want word out there that Yamamoto is okay. So Jer2355 says, it was so bad I thought it was Spectre. Talking about my question to McDavid. Come on. God, people.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair comment.
I don't even want to get into that on this pod because that'll hijack the entire pod. Okay, let's talk about Nuge and then let's talk trades because we've kind of been meandering on a little bit here. Love it. Gutsy. Not in his wheelhouse. Not something that's comfortable to do. Struds. Unless you've had to skate up to someone bigger than you, drop your gloves and get into a bare knuckle fight, you don't understand the courage that takes to do it. I loved it, man. Good for him.
I was blown away. So we're standing there. I'm like, I saw him go right over them. Like, is this guy serious? Like, Justin Hall is he's nothing to, like, you would not, I wouldn't even lose a wink of sleep with this guy fighting him. But Nuge isn't that big, and he absolutely blew him up, tore him in half, and the whole team sees that. You don't think the next time that one of their guys gets roughed up that someone's not going to go over there and talk? Nuge and Hopkins did it. Longest serving Oiler, probably not the thickest guy, and he goes in there and just tears them apart. I loved it. I love what it tells to the whole team. Say, hey guys, we're all in this together.
How many points does Nuge have this season? I'm just taking a look here. How many points is Nuge? Yeah. So Nuge has 73 points. How many 73-point players in the league at this point are going and doing that? So
is he top 10 or top 15 points getters in the NHL? Yeah. And he goes over there. And I do want to say, though, Justin Hall, I love that hit. I absolutely love that hit.
It was a little high, wasn't it? Little dicey?
I don't know.
Dicey?
Yeah, but come on. High. You can't say that. That's like, that's not fair.
But when you're a bigger guy, don't you kind of have to make sure, especially if he's not looking?
What is he supposed to slide on his knees and hit him? Like, come on. Like, that's not fair. I'm pretending he didn't say
that's not fair.
Well, he's 6'3", going against Yamamoto, who's 5'7". What's he supposed to do?
Fair. I don't know. Just make sure you don't catch his head.
You know what? There's a little guy out there, so I got to be careful. I got it. Little guys.
Head contact's going to get you in trouble. So fair or not, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, but so if he does that hit on someone who's 6'2", and there's no head contact, does that mean that the head hit is wrong because the guy's 5'7"? Like, he's still bracing. He can't get down. I take this makes it personal for me because I always got bothered like, well, you got to be careful hitting high and a guy's little. I'm like, well, that's not my problem. He's a little guy.
Todd Fisher says all hits are high on Yamo. So he's definitely on your side.
What do you like? Nathan Gerby. You hit that guy high, all of a sudden you're a dirty player. What do you mean? I'm 6'3".
I'm not saying he's a dirty player. I'm just saying with Yamamoto didn't see it coming. Right? Yeah. It was kind of like turning. And that's where you need to be careful about hitting a guy high. No matter what his height is, if you're approaching a guy that doesn't see you coming, you need to be careful not to catch his head. That's just the way the game is now, bud.
If that's the Road Warrior Per Engvall, who's 6'3", we're not even having a discussion about a head high hit. It's because the guy's 5'7". Like that's just the reality. So I don't want to get off my
you already have. You're all over the map today.
Oh, we have to look after the little guys. Well, the little guys, what are they going to do? Don't put yourself in that position. I cannot make myself smaller, is what Justin Hall's saying.
Not everybody was gifted the life of a 6'4" ogre, Struds. You got to look out for the little guys sometimes.
But I agree. But I'm just saying that, you know, so let's say you're 220 pounds and you really hit someone hard who's 160. Are you supposed to lighten up because the guy's just a little guy?
Yeah.
No, he chose to come on the ice. He chose to make that play. So I don't think so. Hall didn't raise up. He did nothing wrong except get his ass kicked by the 12th leading scorer in the AHL.
Devo Shilly says, Ryan, you need to be traded to the NBA. Maybe not a fan. That's fine. I would be useless in the NBA or covering the NBA. Okay, let's get to this. So that was a breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. We got to talk trades here because we're right on the precipice of the NHL trade deadline. So let's get to our takeaways segment brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, the big, giant, beautiful dealership just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. It really is a big, nice dealership. And they have stock as well. If you want to go there and test drive something, generally speaking, you're going to be able to get in to something that you're interested in. A lot of dealerships are having trouble with that right now. They've also got great used inventory as well, one of the biggest in the city. So it's not just about going there for something brand new. Any vehicle need that you have, go see Sherwood Buick GMC. They're the #1 GMC dealership in all of Canada for 5 years running. Go see Phil and the crew and tell them that Got Your Back sent you. Okay, trade scenario. People want to know what's left for the Oilers. What is possible? So, very small cap space, but I believe they're open for business, wheeling and dealing a little bit to try and create some more. I think Yamamoto's been in play all along here. Why wouldn't he be? And I think he continues to be. And so I think his health coming out of last night matters. What would they try and get in return, Struds? There's two options here, right? Can you free up enough space to help yourself in your top six, to bring in someone? We saw what Bertuzzi went for this morning. And if the Oilers had the cap space at hand, maybe that's something that might have been an option for them, but they don't have the cap space yet to try and make that work. So do you try and bring something in on your top couple of lines, or do you look at your right side on defense and go, that's probably more of a priority? How do you feel about Ceci, Bouchard, and Desharnais as your right decor hurtling into the playoffs?
Yeah, it seems thin. It feels thin, doesn't it? But I guess what are the options out there? One we kicked around a bit yesterday on the Gregor show was Klingberg. Yeah. The ultimate buy low. I mean,
Justin Hall.
What's that?
Justin Hall, if he's not concussed.
Yeah, Justin Hall.
Yeah.
No, I know. Yeah. So I think this is. I could see John Klingberg. This is why I know he's been a train wreck there, but that team has been defensively. If you watch those games, I've watched them a few times. Their defensive strategy is a disaster. You'd get a highly motivated player that needs some significant bounce back here to find a contract that he probably wants or was hoping to get after his last year in Dallas. So that's a guy. But the other area of concern for me is still the faceoffs. Man, they need it. They got taken to the woodshed last night by almost a margin of 2-1, at least when I remember looking at it.
44-56 is the percentage there. But the big guys struggled. Like Nugent Hopkins was 1-5. McLeod was okay. Draisaitl lost 13 and 1/8, so he got beat up pretty good. And McDavid was 50%.
So they need to have it, right? So I'm going to put a name out there. I've been pushing this name for a while, and Orlov didn't happen. So I'm going to put Adam Henrique out there. Henrique.
You threw that out a while ago.
Yeah,
Robin Brownlee didn't like it.
Oh yeah, Rob. Yeah. Well, he did about 2 seconds of research to tell me he was too expensive and too old. So obviously, who am I to talk? But I like Henrique, and I've liked him. I think I put his name forward 2 or 3 summers ago as a guy that you can maybe try to get. I know there's a high cap out there. I get that. But I think he can help with so many different areas of your game. He's a Swiss Army knife all over the place. Power play, I mean, probably not power play, but penalty kill, 5-on-5, winger, center, move him up, move him down. Those are the kind of guys I think you want to play with flexibility. Now, I know the cap hit is significant. I get that. But if you want to go hashtag all in, that's the guy.
Hashtag all in with Henrique. Yeah, I don't mind it. Jake Verana, too, was sort of, I don't know, he's one of those names that was out there and, you know, there's a history there and there's been some difficulty there. It feels like it's thinning. Like if you want to add to your top six, lots of people are asking about Domi. Like lots of people have time for Max Domi. I like his compete level. I think he skates well. Decent level of finish there. Smaller guy, but you're not as worried about that with him because he competes well.
He's edgy.
James Van Riemsdyk has a bigger body that's been around a while, but hard no for me too. Yeah, the foot speed isn't there, right?
Yeah. That is exactly what they're not trying to get. He's trying to add fast wingers. Look at all the people he's brought in, fast wingers, and that he is not. And I don't care the price, man. It's a hard no.
Yeah. I wonder what Ken Holland has left here. You know, it's funny. Like we got the sense that doing anything big was going to just require all this gymnastics with the cap. And it does. You have to be creative and you have to be willing to move people around and move people out. But if they do move Yamamoto's money off the books, really it does open up a wide variety of options for them. They could go out and get a pretty good forward and a depth defenseman even, or they could, you know, it definitely gives them some options. I was having a conversation with somebody last night. I'll just call them a contact. The point was made here, Struds, and this is a little bit bigger picture thought about what we're seeing around the league. When was the last time a team made like a bunch of moves at the deadline? Like really, went really aggressive and then went like this in their last game of the year and hoisted the Stanley Cup. Like when was the last time a team went hard and aggressive and like big at the deadline and won? Like, has it happened? Even one massive addition, like go out and get the guy on the market and win a Stanley Cup with him. It feels like it's the teams that slow build it and tweak a bit, and they're just rock solid already, and they go and they hoist the Stanley Cup. Like, I mean, you run back through the recent Stanley Cup champions, and like there's not a lot of massive additions. Like the Lightning made their additions, right? Hagel and Paul, but those were, you know, middle tier guys.
Yeah.
We're seeing so many teams make these huge moves, but traditionally it doesn't work.
God, you sound like, who do you sound like? I can't put my finger. I know he's a very attractive man, well thought, well read, not well spoken.
I think you're thinking of me, actually.
I think his name is Jason Strudwick. The patient, keep adding, keep growing, keep getting better all the time. I
put that on a T for you.
I'm pretty sure that's what I think that's what I've been saying now for years. But I mean, it sounds better when it comes out of your mouth, as my wife says. So this is the fact, is that if you're going to do, I'm with you, because last night I thought the Maple Leafs looked very disjointed, very just it was kind of a weird collection of what was going on. But I like the players they got, but I think everything that Ken Holland does needs to be measured about what's going to keep making them ultimately better all the time. There is no doubt that I think Ekholm is an upgrade on Barrie, and long-term they're better for it. Long-term being the next 3 years. So if they're making another move, you're moving out Yamamoto, can you find another player that also makes you better next year? The short-term rentals, I'm not as high on the short-term rentals because you still have the same problem next year. Like, you know, you look at the Maple Leafs with Ryan O'Reilly. Yeah, I love him as a player. They'll still not have him next year, still have the same problem. So keep adding and keep addressing your issues. That is why I'm pushing this Henrique narrative, because he helps you next year. Can you trade, let's just say in the perfect world, you could trade Yamamoto for Henrique. I know you couldn't. You're automatically better. You're automatically better. And that's what Ken Holland's been saying. So when I heard him say the other day he's willing to trade a first rounder away for a rental, I don't think he's in that, because you know what? He wants to have that first round pick for next year's trade deadline so he can make a move and adjust at that point.
I was just trying to search him up here, Studs, and we're kind of doing this on the fly, and we're throwing names out on the fly here. I think he's on LTIR, I think. I'm just looking right now. Adam Henrique, day to day. So he's out right now, but he's out day to day. So nothing too nothing too significant there.
That's a guy I've been beating up for. That I like. But that's the kind of idea I want. Can you bring in, trade someone out who solves something long term, like long term being more than, like, let's call it 2 playoff runs, so that in the summer you can say, no, guys, boy, we sure need a right defenseman. Okay, we can figure that out. But what else? You know what I mean? That's kind of how I'm. That's how I'm wired. I want to just solve problems, not create short-term solutions.
Lots of people asking about Gudis and Duclair as a combination package. Big, robust. Duclair has barely played, but that guy is wheels all day long. Yeah. Like, he can skate all day long. And he has scored some goals before. Yeah, good compete level,
Yeah, no, and Radko Gudis, you know what you're getting. Like, Nick Nasty. Nick Nasty.
Blunt instrument, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you does that become your third pairing, and what happens to Broberg? And honestly, like, short term with Broberg, let's say you traded for another defenseman and Broberg's ice times go down, or maybe he has to go back to the minors, it's not going to kill him, right? No. But when I see Bear Darnay, unless you trade for someone who's a real big killer, the penalty killing, I think Darnay is probably needed right now more than Broberg.
I had the worst Leafs fan sitting behind me at the game, still chirping at 5-2.
Oh, I love it.
How was the experience in the crowd with all those Leaf fans walking among you, Struddy? Did you hate it?
One guy about 5 chairs to our right and 1 row in front of us got kicked out. He was so buckled, this Leafs fan, just swearing. And finally, someone just went and told him, the security, like, we're done. Like, the whole section's done with this guy. And my son couldn't stop watching. But Schauger, there's a few things that bring me joy. My kids' birthdays. I play a good golf round. And when the Maple Leafs lose in the first round this year, it's going to feel like all those things tied up into one package. Because I cannot see them beating Tampa with the goalies they have compared to Tampa's. Mm-hmm. Over 7 games, I'm taking Vasilevsky every single time over top of those other 2 guys.
Well, look at the risk for Dubas, right? Like, he's added some really good players and he's changed the shape of his team. He's done a lot of really good things, but is there such a thing as too much change? They definitely were disjointed last night. Word out of the locker room is the group was pretty jarred by all of the change that happened. They have some time to try and get that in order.
Yeah,
so there's that risk, but then there's also the risk on the goaltending, right? He's letting a lot ride on goaltending that we'll see.
Like, so if Murray, it's not that I don't think he's a good goalie. I don't know if he's going to be there. Like, is he going to be healthy, right? That's a big concern. Yeah. And then you're going to put it all on Samsonov. And if that guy struggles, you're bringing in Justin Wall, not to be mixed up with Hall. Yeah, it's gonna be a mess. I can't wait. Sure. I can't wait. It's a great show to watch.
Before we go, let's talk about the Chychrun deal to Ottawa yesterday. The price came down. It came down, and it came down 24 hours after the Oilers made their deal. Maybe even less than that. So Craig Button was asked yesterday on SportsCenter if the Senators made a far better deal than the Oilers, and he really felt that they did. Yeah. He felt that for the player that they got, the price they paid, that it was a way better deal for the Ottawa Senators. What did you make of the price for Chychrun landing at that first? And basically, I mean, there was a bunch of conditions attached and stuff, but what are we going to call it? A first and 2 seconds? Yeah, at the end of the day, that's what it lands at. When you think about where Word was, this deal, what they were asking for, and that's where it lands, Struds. Does it make you view the Ekholm deal differently at all when you see what Chychrun went for?
So first off, I think that Bill Armstrong, the GM of Arizona, really misplayed his hand. I think that he could have got this deal done a long time ago, and I think it let it dragged out. I think maybe there was some fatigue that dragged in. So I think that GM misplayed his hand. I think that from what I know of watching Chychrun and watching Ekholm, I think Ekholm fills the need that they needed on this team, the Oilers, more so than Chychrun did. Can Chychrun become Ekholm? Maybe. But I think that Ekholm fills that need better. Now, do I like a younger player? 100%. Do I worry about Chychrun's health? 100% I do. But I think for now, the need was filled much better with Ekholm than Chychrun. Long term, who knows?
But let me put it to you this way, Struds.
Yeah.
I don't mean one player straight up versus the other. Who do you like better? Yeah. Let's look at the whole thing. I believe there was a pathway to get Jacob Chychrun here without trading Tyson Barrie.
Sure.
So how would you feel about having Chychrun and Barrie and over
Yeah.
Ekholm minus Barry.
Yeah.
By the way, plus minus Reed Schaefer, right?
Yeah.
Now, the Oilers would have had to send assets out to have made the money work, and Arizona wasn't taking the money, right? We know that, and that's what we'll hear from Ken Holland, and that's what we'll hear. Arizona wasn't taking the money. So what? Other teams will take money. Other teams are doing it. Everybody's figuring out a way. It's not impossible to move money around right now, and if the Oilers can trade Yamamoto here, I mean, that could have been the money. So I don't buy the idea that Arizona wasn't taking money, so there was never a chance for a deal. The Oilers were in this, and they were negotiating as recently as the day before. The day they traded for Ekholm, they were still negotiating on Chychrun in the morning.
Sure.
So what happened is Los Angeles pulled the trigger on the Gavrikov deal that night.
Yeah.
And they were running out of dance partners, and the price on Chychrun came plummeting down. I believe the Oilers, I reported 2.5 weeks ago, Ken Holland is going to ride this right to the 11th hour, hoping the price on Chychrun comes down. It did. They were already out of the game. So I guess, was anybody else trading for Ekholm that day? Was he in danger of going somewhere else that day? Would waiting one more day have made a difference for Ken Hall? We'll never know. We don't know these answers. And he got his guy. He did. He made the trade. It was bold, and he did it. Yeah. But there's strategy, right? Had he waited one more day, what would the price have been for Chychrun to come to Edmonton? And how could they have done that? And would Barry still be here?
So what was it? It was Barry, a first, and Reed Schaefer, right? Basically.
Sorry, it was Barry and a first and Reed Schaefer.
Yeah, so let's look at it. So let's review. So basically the two firsts, I think Phoenix got a higher first-round pick going with Ottawa. Let's call it a dozen picks higher. Mm-hmm. I would rather have that pick. Then Reed Schaefer, depending on where you think the prospect is and what he's going to be, is he more valuable than a second rounder? Probably
100%, 1,000%. I was told that of all the Oiler prospects, Reed Schaefer was the one that was asked for the most. They did not want to trade Reed Schaefer. Of all their young players, they wanted to keep him.
Okay, so there you go. So that's more
big
valuable
ask.
Than a second.
Yep.
And then Barry or a second round pick. I'd probably rather keep Barry. But you got to keep in mind that to get Ekholm in, they had to send Barry out and something. Like they had to juice it up. So if you strip down, if you didn't have to send Barry because of the money, what would that trade look like? Would it have been more or less than Chychrun? Because I think weren't you paying Arizona to take the money?
Well, Arizona wasn't taking any money, so it would have had to have been a trade out the side door somewhere, yeah.
But weren't you paying Nashville to take Barry?
Were you paying Nashville to take Barry?
Like if they had a clean deal, would this return have been less?
No, I don't think so. I think there was positive trade equity in Barry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, see, I think that they knew, Nashville knew they had to take some money back, or some. So I think that number goes higher. I think that number goes higher. Really, I mean, we've seen it in other trades. So that's what I think. I mean, I might be wrong, but the first rounder, the Schaefer is the one that I think that shakes it up a bit. That's what shakes it up
for sure.
That's the deal. Yeah,
and I don't want people to misinterpret the point that I'm making here. I'm playing devil's advocate, right? I'm saying now that all the information is in, let's evaluate the decision they made when they made it. I think Ken Holland made a good trade. I think he made an important trade. I think he's changed the shape of this team in a way that it needed to be changed. So I'm not suggesting that it was a mistake. But we talked all along about how much strategy was involved here and timing and how intricate it was. And when you see what Chychrun eventually went for and you process the idea that could they have had Chychrun and Barry, it just gives you something to think about the way this played out and really how difficult the timing can be to get right in these situations. And by the way, I think the Oilers and the ones making the decision liked Ekholm a lot better than they liked Chychrun, and that matters.
Yeah, it does. I wonder what the rest of the league, who else was trying to trade for Ekholm? Or was there someone else pursuing?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did you hear about any other teams in on Ekholm?
No,
because I didn't hear a ton. So was there a sense of urgency? Was there a rush to get it done? Or if you had gone that long waiting on Chychrun, could you have waited a little bit more? No. I don't know the answer, but I think it's fair to say, hey, how did this all play out in hindsight, right? I think you made a good trade. I think you made an important trade.
Fair points.
All right, good discussion. Thank you for all of your involvement here on the live stream. Should we just blast in a couple of quick comments here? Raj Bauer says, I also look at it this way. We have Ekholm for the rest of McDavid's contract. He's a solid D-man. Cannot argue with that. CK Pond says the market for Chychrun only changed when the Oilers and Kings went out. That's a good point. Like Gavrikov getting traded tightened up the market, but Ekholm getting traded and the Oilers coming off the market as buyers changed the market. So that's a very fair point to make. They would have to move Barrie plus Schaefer in a first still for Chychrun plus. Not sure that I necessarily agree about that when you look at what Chychrun ended up going for. Did the Ekholm trade drop the price on the Arizona defenseman? Yeah, potentially, right? The more guys that go, it definitely makes the selling teams that have to sell a little bit more desperate. Anything there you want to read, Struds? You looking at anything?
Yeah, no, they're all kind of just talking about how you ran Puljujärvi out of town, but that's we're not getting it. I don't want to bring that up now.
It's ridiculous. I have to say, I'm glad that I'm glad that that's over. Like
just
it was
a final
painful
note.
covering Puljujärvi in this town, just for that one faction of the fans that always take it way too far.
One final note. I hope that any trade that Ken Holland makes is a long-term solution. Like long-term for me means more than passing this summer.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that goes from my lips to God's ears. And that's my hope. Like a Sam
alligator arms on the draft picks. Hey, like you got alligator arms in real life too. Can you reach your wallet at the dinner? Do you treat your dinner bills like you treat your draft picks?
I'm Canada's guest. I've never paid for a meal.
All right, love you, Struddy. Thanks, pal. We'll talk soon. That is the great Jason Strudwick. What a fun podcast. Love the interaction here from the fans. I know you don't love me, folks, some people that are frustrated with things I say here and there, but I love getting your calm comments on the pod. I'm happy to read them. It's all in good fun. We're having a blast doing these live streams. We really like it. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for your downloads and your subscriptions on the podcast as well. Now, this is the fun time of year, and it's only going to get more fun as we hurtle towards the postseason. That'll wrap Got Your Back. Big thanks to our sponsors, Mr. Dirk, DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and Weiss Johnson as well. Have a great rest of your day. Trade deadline's going to be fun. What will the Oilers do? Let's wait and see. We're going to get digging, see if we can figure out what's up. Keep an eye on our socials, and we'll talk again after deadline. Cheers, folks.